Welcome to this portion of the channel for the purpose, where we seek to extract meaning and purpose out of film. Today's episode, what is the purpose for Undertone? Released in 2026 by A24, Undertone is a horror film written and directed by Ian Twasson. It tells the story of a paranormal podcaster named Evie, who has moved back into her childhood home to care for her dying mother. Night after night, Evie puts on her headphones and escapes into her podcast, where she and her co-host Justin investigate strange stories sent in by listeners. One night, they receive a series of disturbing audio recordings from a young couple experiencing what can best be described as a series of increasingly terrifying events in their home. As Evie listens to each recording, the lines between the couple's story and her own life, they begin to blur. While she's navigating grief, questions about motherhood, and the uncertainty of what comes next, she finds herself pulled into a mystery that may be supernatural, or it may be something else. Undertone is an impressive first feature film for Ian Twasson. The best stories come from creators who truly understand their message, and Twasson wrote a deeply personal story, inspired by caring for his own parents during their battles with terminal illness. The film was also shot inside Twasson's actual childhood home in Toronto, Canada, giving the story an intimate and authentic feel. It's exactly what attracted A24 after the film premiered at the Fantasia International Film Festival in 2025. It was there that it generated a strong buzz and won the festival's Audience Award for Canadian films. It was made on a modest budget of $500,000, and it went on to earn more than $20 million. A well-deserved success, with audiences clearly connecting to its message. I also connected to this film in a very specific way. The film delivered something unique within an increasingly crowded horror genre. That is difficult to do. So, let's explore the meaning and purpose behind this film. So many years ago, to rent movies, we had to go to a video rental store. It was an actual place that you had to go to. These trips were always exciting for me. Unlike today, we were not aware of a lot of the films that were out there. A lot of the releases, we had no idea what these films were about. So making a choice to see something usually came down to the cover art. It was here that the film made its sales pitch. Adventure, action, comedy, but there was a section that truly stood out. The horror section. My ultra-conservative parents made sure to keep me away from that horror section. The VHS covers, they were beautifully illustrated. The film's horror themes were often front and center, often appearing far more terrifying than the movies actually were. It was a space that always drew my curiosity, and it's something that my father noticed. He would constantly pull me away from that section. He didn't want me to bring home my own personal summoned demon. As I got older, I realized that that section that I feared, that section of horror that I was so scared about, those were not the stories that would rattle me. Yeah, those majestic, dark, brooding covers filled with screaming, bloody victims or phantasms practically reaching out to you were in the end all show. The movies in actuality were often camp fests riddled with poor characters and even weaker villains. It would take time to discover the real horror, which came from the most grounded stories in reality. Life itself would prove to be the greatest horror story of all. Having to navigate around this world by yourself is difficult enough as is, but it gets even harder when you have to take care of others. Being a caretaker for someone who is terminally ill is one of the most difficult and unfair experiences a person can endure. It's something I experienced firsthand while caring for my in-laws who were diagnosed with dementia. They call it long goodbye. An emotionally draining condition where you watch the people that you love slowly lose themselves. For years, we cared for them as best as we could. We transported them to appointments, we shopped for them, cooked for them, cleaned for them, tried to preserve as much dignity and comfort as possible throughout the way. Eventually, the disease progressed. It started slowly, then came the hallucinations, the sundowning, the confusion. We struggled constantly with guilt. Were we doing enough? Was there something we were missing? Were we somehow making things worse? Every step of the way we thought, this is it. It cannot get worse. Then it did. The falls, the injuries, the verbal attacks from loved ones who no longer recognized us. One of the things that I struggled with personally was being a caretaker while dealing with chronic insomnia. I would hear them wandering around the house at night, confused because they no longer remembered that they were staying with us. I spent much of my day trying to make the home safe as much as I could, locking away knives, removing hazards, ensuring nothing could catch fire. Whatever nightmare scenario I could imagine became fuel for my anxiety and panic attacks. So every night, I would slowly walk downstairs wondering what horror awaited me. And horror was found. A loud thud, followed by a body on the floor, finding them lying in their own waste, belligerent, and accusing me of poisoning them through the vents because that was one of the hallucinations. I filled the rooms with cameras to protect everyone involved because EMS had to be called frequently. This was to ensure that there could never be any accusations of elder abuse. I would show footage of the fall to the EMS responders, and I would watch their initial judgments fade away as they began to understand the reality of our situation. There was no simple solution. The system often fails the elderly when they cannot afford care, and so the burden falls on the families. I tried not to break whenever people offered their prayers. Prayer? What is that? What does that do? Why should I pray? Why should I, when I'm the one doing all the work? Why should I pray to a God who offers no relief? A God who could supposedly end the suffering in an instant? Yet, here we are, doing it ourselves. Not God, us. Pray to Him? Never. That may be difficult for some to hear. It's not an attack on your faith. This is my experience. Until you've watched someone slowly descend into madness as the person you once knew fades away, while the financial burdens, its stress, the anxiety, the depression, it continues to mount on you, on your shoulders, you stop wondering about some grand plan and begin only seeing the cruelty behind it all. So when I watched Undertone, Evie felt incredibly real. She lost herself in her podcast because it became her escape. The moment those headphones went on, she could shut the world out and avoid confronting what remained of her reality. The film makes brilliant use of sound design to highlight the duality of perception. Outside of the headphones, we, the audience, are immersed into the environment, the creaks and groans of a lonely home. Evie has no one to talk to but herself. We feel that isolation. Inside the headphones, she becomes this bright, energetic, smiling character, laughing and joking, until reality breaks through, until a topic reminds her that this isn't real life. It's just a show. And that's where Undertone truly shines, because our stories always find a way to be told. No matter how deeply we try to bury them, no matter how desperately we try to escape them, purpose reveals itself. Chaos emerges. Meaning forces its way into existence. In Undertone, the demonic entity tied to the audio recordings becomes a manifestation of that chaos. The guilt, the anxiety, the depression, the emotional scars that permanently reshape us. Whether the demon is literally real or not, I don't think it matters. The outcome is what defines its meaning. Evie loses herself in caregiving. She loses herself in guilt. Her story becomes a warning about what happens when we stop being present with the people we love and neglect our own emotional needs. It sounds simple and it sounds cliche, but life really is that simple. This is a teaching that's been taught in many different philosophies. Undertone reminds us that reality eventually forces us to pay attention to our own story. One way or another, it will demand our attention. When the film ended, I almost missed that connection, because a part of me wanted a more traditional resolution, a clearer answer, a more definitive ending. Then I stepped back and I realized something, that I wanted that conclusion because I wanted to believe that life provides those conclusions. But realistically, it doesn't. We don't get to say everything we want to say. We don't get to do everything we want to do. When my in-laws finally took their last breaths, we cried. Not because we were sad. That was every day. It's because we felt relief. The sadness was always there, and it's never going away. The sadness came from wishing that their final days could have been better. They could have enjoyed life a little bit longer under different circumstances, that we could have done more together. But life is rarely that kind. And if you can still find a way to pray after enduring something like that, I genuinely admire it. I admire that. I do. I wish I could relate. For me, the meaning was something different. A call to change direction, to stop being slow to respond, to stop postponing life, hoping for something better down the road, that maybe something somewhere else can fix the problems and ultimately give us something that'll make us happy. I choose to be present. I choose to live now.